Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I am bringing you guys an update to my Appliancer deck profile. So this is going to be like a $50 budget build. This is a very budget-friendly deck. All of the cards were printed last summer in Battles of Legend Armageddon, and everybody was buying up packs like crazy because they wanted to try to pull 10,000 Dragon and the Utopian stuff. So these cards are super duper cheap. MCole40 actually just did like a review of a deck profile of someone who like topped at a locals with this deck. It was a very different like trap oriented deck, but ever since I saw his video, it kind of got me in the spirit of like updating this deck, and I think I made some really good improvements to it. I think without any further ado, let's just get on into the deck profile. For those of you guys who don't know how this deck works, basically you are spamming out a whole bunch of monsters, just like basically any other deck can do, and then you have a whole lot of like extra deck options to go into. If you want to play pure appliancers, you definitely can, but there's also a lot of different options. Also, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing and checking out my Twitch, Facebook group, Instagram, wherever you guys want to check me out. There's a whole bunch of links down in the description below, but also don't forget to hit the notification bell so you guys can get alerted for all of these other deck profiles. Also, I did do a stream of this deck over on Twitch if you guys want to see how some of the combos work. But anyways, so we're playing 3 copies of Socket Roll here. So what Socket Roll does is that when you control an Appliancer on the field, you can special summon Appliancer Socket Roll onto the field. And then also, if this card is on the field when another copy of Socket Roll gets special summoned, you're able to special summon a third copy from the deck, basically. And you can only use that effect once per turn, so that's actually pretty important. One really great way that we're able to abuse that effect is with our next card, which is 3 copies of Copy Buckle. So with this card, you're able to copy the name of an Appliancer monster on the field and then special summon this card. So these two basically can special summon themselves to the field really easily. But yeah, the Copy Buckle can then copy the name. So basically, if you get Socket Roll onto the field, special a copy Buckle to the field, or sorry, you get Socket Roll to the field, special a Copy Buckle, then you're able to copy the name, special another copy of your Socket Roll from the deck, and then you're basically at full combo there. All you need is like maybe one more monster to extend. That way you get all 4 monsters that you generally want to have on the board. Or I'm sorry, you want to get 4 like link materials basically. But then also when Copy Buckle is in the graveyard during a turn after this is sent to the graveyard, you're able to banish this from the graveyard and then basically Monster Reborn one of your Appliancer monsters from the graveyard. Next, we're playing 3 copies of the Breaker Bunkle. So this card is really cool because it actually helps protect your board really well. So it's like a little bit of a hand trap for the deck. So when your Appliancer monster is on the field, is getting battled, you're able to discard this to the graveyard, and then you can stop the battle. Your monster does not get destroyed by battle, and you take no damage. And then also, you can banish this from the graveyard during another interaction when it's in the graveyard and your opponent would destroy one of your Appliancers by card effect. You can just banish this from the graveyard instead, which is just very nice. So it's a good protection card. Otherwise, you can always just like normal summon it and then special summon your Socket Roll and then special Copy Buckle, and then you can special summon another Socket Roll, and then there you have all 4 of your 4 link materials, so you can do your full link climb. Then another great card for the deck, a card that I will probably never take out of here, is 3 copies of 4 Mud Skimper, because with this card you can copy a name of one of your monsters in the extra deck. And then when you link this card off, you're able to use this card as that card's name. So for instance, if you copy the name of Appliancer Laundry Dragon, this now becomes Laundry Dragon, and then you can just link it off for any of the Appliancers because they all require appliancers for their materials. So that's very important, just that you can get like an extra appliancer, because we just don't have enough. Like there's only 3 main deck monsters, so it's really tough to get enough names out on the board. So this is just a really great way. Also, all of the Link 1 appliancers cannot be used as link material the turn that they're summoned. So it's really important to be able to get enough appliancer names and to be able to like link climb hard enough. Then also when he's sent to the graveyard for as a link material, then you're able to add a Cybers monster of level 5 or higher, which is going to be our Parallel Exceed. So 3 copies of Exceed, just to make sure that we can special summon this card out onto the field and then get a little bit of extra link summoning going. We do have 1 Garnet for the deck, which is a copy of Codebreaker 0 Day, but he is just really, really great in the deck to extend your plays, and we'll get to that a little bit later with the extra deck. Then I'm playing 4 Kaijus, and I'm just playing a different range of the attacks. So we have the 33, the 3000, the 27, and the 22 with the Gamma Seal. The one that you could definitely cut is this one. This one's actually pretty expensive, but I do like playing it because it's expensive right now because it's a wind, so you're actually able to use this up against like Lyrilisk Tri-Brigade. But for that reason, I kind of wanted to include it in here. But I do like playing like a different range of the attacks because I do play Interrupted Kaiju Slumber in here. Then going on into the spells, we have 3 copies of our field spell, which is Appliancer, a lyrical electrical world. So when this card gets activated, you're able to add one of your Appliancer monsters from your deck to your hand, or actually just an Appliancer card, So you can actually search for the spell cards except for this card. The one interesting thing on this, though, is that it does say you can add an Appliancer card from your deck to your hand except for a field spell. It doesn't specifically designate this card. Like, it doesn't say, like, except for Appliancer Electrical World. So I'm really like curious if they'll eventually give us another field spell for Appliancers. I think that'd be really good. Like, this deck could use another wave of support, and it would actually be like pretty decent. But then also with this, once per turn, if you link summon an Appliancer monster, then you can add another Appliancer monster from your graveyard to your hand, which is just nice to get like Breaker Bunkle or something back to your hand. And then also when your Appliancer monster battles, you're able to move it to a different main monster zone that you control. So it's just nice that you can sort of like move them around because they depend on whether they're co-linked or if they're not co-linked. So depending on what effect you want to be live at the moment, you can always move these guys around. Then we'll go on into like the Monster Reborn of the deck, which is 3 copies of Appliancer Reuse. So with this, you just target an Appliancer monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and then when it leaves the field, it gets shuffled back into the deck. It goes to the bottom of the deck, which is actually really nice just to use with your socket roll, because we always want these to be kind of like rolling throughout the deck. So like you summon one to the field, special summon another one, and then like they just keep kind of rolling like that. So it is nice to like be able to keep putting them back into the deck. Then we have 1 copy of the Appliancer Test. This card is really only it's a great way to get back into the game, but you still need to have a little bit of extension. So it's like it's an okay top deck, but you still have to be able to go into like a Link 2 monster. But basically you summon Link monsters back to the field from the graveyard to zones that a Link monster points to. So basically the only way that you use this card is with your Link 2 monster, which has a down arrow and a down left arrow, and then you basically get like 2 of your guys back from the graveyard to zones that it points to, and then you're kind of back in action with your full combo. But again, you have to be able to go into the Link 2 first. So it does work as a really good top deck, but again, you still just have to have resources in your hand, so it's not quite as good. Then we have 3 copies of Machine Duplication. This literally works on all of your Appliancer guys, so it's just super duper good in the deck. Then we're going on into 2 copies of Pot of Avarice. This card is just super duper nice in here. If you're not really seeing your Monster Reborn card, which shuffles your card back into the deck, the Pot of Avarice is actually really nice, and it helps you like recycle your Kaijus and stuff like that. And also if you use up two of the parallel exceeds, like say you use one and then that summons the other one, and then you still have like the third one sitting in the deck. Well, if you shuffle one of them back with Pot of Avarice, then the other exceed that's in the deck suddenly becomes live again, which is really, really cool. Then we have 2 copies of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber just to wipe our opponent's board. This is generally a going second deck, so you could even bump this up to 3 if you really, really wanted to, but I still thought that 2 was definitely still enough. We have 1 copy of Terraforming, 1 Upstart Goblin, just because you really need to make sure that you get to the game-changing cards for this deck. So you need to make sure that like you're drawing into like your socket roll and your copy bunkle. So for that reason, I like playing this as a 39 card deck basically. Then we have a copy of 1 for 1 because all of our monsters are level 1s. 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 1 Called by the Grave to make sure that our plays go through, and then 1 copy of Metaverse just because our field spell is also just super duper important to make sure that we get to our Appliancer guys. But that's going to do it for the 40 card main deck. Let's get on into the extra deck. Okay, so for the extra deck, we are playing 2 copies of our Appliancer Celtopus. This is basically your boss monster of the deck. Again, if some of these combos and stuff don't really make sense as I'm describing them, you can definitely check out my replays that are over on Twitch, and I'll be uploading like a more edited version of the replays over here on YouTube fairly shortly. Just give me a few days for that. But basically, with the Celtopus, it requires two Appliancer monsters. So again, you can't really use like anything generic, which is why like the 4-Mud Skipper definitely does help. But with this card, when this card is linked, your opponent cannot target it by card effects or by battle. Then also during damage calculation, if your Appliancer monster that is co-linked to this attacks, then you're able to increase the attack of it by 1,000 times the number of co-linked monsters. So basically, if you have like your Laundry Dragon below, and then you have to the bottom side here, you have the elephant, then you're able to increase both of their attacks by 2,000, which is really nice. Then also, if your monster is not co-linked, so they each all have a co-link and a non-co-link effect. So if your monster is not co-linked and then is destroyed by battle or card effect, you're able to draw a card. So it is really nice. Your field spell, like I mentioned before, is able to move around some of your cards during the battle phase. So it is nice if you know that something is about to get destroyed, you can just move it around, and then you basically get to draw a free card off of that, which the card advantage is definitely necessary for this deck. Then we're going on into 2 copies of our Appliancer Laundry Dragon. Laundry Dragon is probably my favorite just because it has it has 2 actually really great effects. It actually is an out to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which is crazy. But basically what this card does is that it can't be used as link material the turn that it's link summoned. Like I said, for all of the link ones, that's just going to be kind of a stipulation. And then when this card is linked, once per turn during damage calculation, you're able to just banish the opponent's monster whenever it battles. So it is just nice to just get a little bit of spot removal on those opponent's cards. Also, neither player takes any battle damage from this card, but your opponent can still take effect damage. So when this card is not co-linked, so when it's just off to the side sitting there by itself, this card, when it battles an opponent's monster, you're able to just destroy that opponent's monster and then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the monster's attack. So again, your opponent doesn't take any battle damage and neither do you, but you're able to just attack and destroy the opponent's monster, and then your opponent just takes effect damage. So it's just kind of fun how this card works around itself. So it's nice for just a little bit of spot removal. Then I cut down the Vacuole Elephant. Generally, a lot of people play it down to, or they play it at 2, or I believe in my last profile also I played the Dryer Drake at 2, but I cut everything else down to 1 just so I had a little bit more versatility in the extra deck. So with the Vacuole Elephant, basically with him, when he is not co-linked, he can attack your opponent directly. So it is nice just to attack your opponent for like that 1,000 damage. So he's not going to be co-linked off of like the Celtopus, so he won't be gaining the extra like 1,000 or 2,000 attack. But again, just poking for that 1,000 damage is kind of nice. And if you shuffle cards around with your Dryer Drake, we'll get to that in a minute, the cards are able to attack twice, so it is kind of nice. Then also, when this card is co-linked, you're able to destroy one of your opponent's monsters, which is just, again, just nice for a little bit of like spot removal. And then he's also good for spot removal, whether he's co-linked or not, because regardless, you're able to send one card from your hand to the graveyard and then target one card that your opponent controls and destroy it. So when he's co-linked, you're able to destroy a monster, and then regardless of the situation, you're able to send one card from your hand to the graveyard and destroy. So he is just really nice for that simple spot removal, so that's why I really like him. He's one that you could consider bumping up to 2, but I mean, we have a whole bunch of different ways to get our stuff back into the deck, like with our Appliancer reuse, and then also with our Pot of Avarice. There's definitely ways to like get these cards back into the main deck and into the extra deck. Then we're going on into our 1 copy of the Appliancer Dryer Drake. So this card is really, really interesting. When this card is on the field, this card gains 1,000 attack when it is linked. So it doesn't have to be totally co-linked, which is nice. And then once per turn during the battle phase, if the co-linked card battles, you're able to swap 2 of your Appliancer monsters, so you can actually move them around on the field. So swap their locations so that they become not co-linked again, and then they're able to attack for a second time during the battle phase, which is really, really cool. And then also, when this card that is not co-linked is targeted for an attack, you're able to just negate the attack. So it is nice if you can end on this. If you don't have like the Breaker Bunkle in your hand, it is just kind of nice just to make sure that you have a little bit of battle protection. And then we're going on into Pickle Rick here, otherwise known as Appliancer Kappa Scale. If you'll notice on her, for some reason the Kappa Scale is like weighing pickles, so that's why I call her Pickle Rick. But basically with this card, you contribute it when it's co-linked, and then special summon an Appliancer link monster from your graveyard. So this card's not quite as good. It's really perfect as a one-of, because if there's just a certain card in your graveyard that you want, one of the link monsters, you can just tribute this to bring it back, and then you can put it in a specific zone. And then when this card is not co-linked, you're able to tribute it and then get back one of your Appliancers from the graveyard. So it just depends whether you co-link it or you don't. Is going to depend on whether you get a link monster or not. Then going on into the non-Appliancers, we have 1 copy of Link Karibo. This is like only in here realistically for your if your opponent forces you to go first, and then let's say you open with like Breaker Bunkle and then a copy of now I gotta find it, the Parallel Exceed. Basically, this is really only in here for this scenario if you draw into these and you really don't have any other way to combo off. Let's say you draw like a couple of Kaijus and like a Pot of Avarice or something. Then you basically just summon the Breaker Bunkle, link into Link Karibo, special Parallel Exceed, and then you go into a rank 4 play. So that's basically like your only play that you're set up with. But so for that reason, I just wanted to make sure that you always sort of had a plan if you like draw into a Parallel Exceed in one of the level 1s, but you don't have much else to extend into. Then we have 1 copy of Relinquished Anima. This card gets so dirty with the Kaijus, because if your opponent has like a good monster and they don't put it in a specific zone, you can just tribute that monster with a Kaiju, put it right there in front of your extra monster zone, summon Relinquished Anima, and then suck it up, and then all of a sudden your Relinquished Anima is going to have like 3,000 attack, which is just really cool. Then for our combo with our Codebreaker 0 Day, we have the Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. So I'll pull the 0 Day back out of the main deck here. So basically with this card, when the Virus Swordsman is summoned, we're going to need the Celtipus for this combo. So basically with this, when this card gets link summoned, you're able to, as long as it's co-linked when it's link summoned, you're able to summon to a zone that a link monster points to. So this card really only works in a scenario where you have something like this, where you have a downward facing arrow and then something that goes this way or vice versa. So like really only with stuff like this, or like Appaloosa, who points like all 3 ways down. So it just works super duper perfect for this deck, because you have to summon to a zone where your link monster points to. Then you can link these guys off to go into the Codebreaker Virus Berserker, and then when he is summoned, you're able to summon Codebreaker monsters to zones that, again, that your Link monsters point to. So you have this zone that the Virus Berserkers points to, and then you have wherever the Celtipus points to. So you get all of these guys basically for free. So you go from a Link 2 climb into all of a sudden now you have a 3, a 2, and then just like a generic monster. So then you can go for like a big play for like an access code talker or something like that. So for that reason, this combo is just super duper valuable in here. So for that reason, I really like playing that little Codebreaker engine. So then moving on, we have one copy of Nightmare Unicorn, one copy of Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. Again, like if you can, if you basically, like if your opponent forces you to go first, the Parallel Exceed really helps you to get into Appaloosa a lot quicker. Then we have one copy of Borrelsword Dragon, and then finally one copy of Baguska. So Baguska is what you're going to use for the Parallel Exceed and Link Karibo combo. Then also, again, I wanted to keep this at like a $50 budget, but if you can afford it, Access Code Talker works really amazing in here because a lot of your appliancers are different attributes. So you can swap out the Borrelsword for Access Code Talker, and then if there's other stuff that you guys want to swap around, you can always put in a few more Nightmares. And then also the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World also works really great in here for just how much you can spam out the monsters. So say you get out like 4 Appliancer monsters on the board, and then you steal one of your opponent's monsters, the Underworld Goddess just works super duper good, but you really don't need her just because of how versatile the kaijus are. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for my deck profile. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I forgot how fun this deck was until I started messing around with it again, but it is a very fun deck. So this is, again, my new take on Appliancers. I updated it a little bit from how I ran it last time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, please subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and then also check out the links to like my Twitch if you guys want to check out the Appliancer replays. I'll also be uploading it here to YouTube. Check out the Patreon if you guys are considering supporting the channel, and we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.